Hello YouTube, on July 15 another gauntlet race from Ziz starts. There will be a huge number of prizes for the height level you have reached. Physical prizes go up to RTX 3090 Ti and lots of gaming antiques. The essence of the race is simple. It's also a fun hardcore mode with one life and modifiers for monsters. But if usually hard modifiers of monsters were static from Act 1, now they're getting stronger gradually, which makes leveling much easier. We're interested in the fact that the build does not require special units, beat only, and have enough damage to pass the content in the gear from the floor. I will show 25 builds on which it's possible to get level 19 in the race, but I will start with the top 5 most powerful meta builds on hardcore SSF, so let's start. The first build is all and popular as possible on hardcore, but this does not negate the fact that he is very strong. Ignite Necromancer. This build has everything you need to take level 90 in the race: high damage, huge survivability, and no unique requirements. I think it makes no sense to talk a lot about the build, a good and stable option to pass the race without much effort. It have big armor, evasion rating, big life pool, and big ignite damage. The next build is also perfect for us: Explosive Arrow Champion. It also has excellent damage against bosses and even better clearing than DD. Belt and Jewel buff you, but not so mandatory. Of course, in terms of survival, the champion is one of the best classes in the game created for hardcore. It have 6k life and 30k armor and 30k plus evasion rate. The next build is as simple as a boot, but as efficient as possible for lazy race passing. Poison Seismic Trapper. It is a poison version that makes it is most damage and tanky. The build on which you can easily take 100 level if you wish. All the build needs to complete the race perfectly is 6 link and 21 level of Seismic. It also has 7k life. RF Inquisitor is something that deserves a nerf in 3.19. A lot of people have played this build in League 3.18 and have not experienced any problem. The Inquisitor provides everything needed for RF damage and also has no problems with defense, with a huge amount of armor and 1k plus health regen. Also have 6k plus life. Well, in conclusion, the build that I may choose myself: Wintertide brand Occultist with Creeping Frost. The build looks as interesting as possible and has more than 300k DPS for Creeping Frost. The high amount of damage also synergies well with the monster freeze mechanic and a lot of armor and health. Now I will show builds that are less popular but also possible to take level 19 with them. Perfect for those who are tired of meta builds, and the first such build is Flameblast Hexblast Elementalist. The build has interesting mechanics and a huge AoE that allow you to kill monsters at a great distance. Great variation on temporal chains, curse and blasphemy. Also this build have 6k life and decent damage. Explosive Arrow Elementalist is also quite strong, but loses to the champion in survivability, but it has a much higher clearance speed and damage. If you are confident in yourself, you can try the version through Elementalist. She also deserves attention. Has around 5k life and good defense. Bane Occultist with Vall Blight for bosses. The build has a great clear and nice gameplay with Bane. Also the build is quite protected thanks to curses and good amount of health. Charles builds are not in the meta right now, but Bane along with Vall Blight can allow you to get to level 19. Chieftain with Fire Trap. Incredible tank build with 6-7k health and a huge amount of fire damage dots. The Fire Trap is very strong now, and on the Chieftain it only gets stronger. Chieftain has always been one of the most tanky options for hardcore, and this build is no exception. The build easily allows you to take level 90. Armageddon brand Hierophant. I don't really like the Hierophant with totems in hardcore because he addicted to some things, but with brands he gets great DPS and nice gameplay without investment and cost. A stable and enjoyable build, but may require a bit of branding skill. Armageddon brand is still the best brands ever. Boneshatter Juggernaut might be a good choice if you're a fan of melee builds. The Juggernaut ascendancy and the Murder's large amount of strength will make your hardcore game super chill, but playing the Boneshatter may not be to everyone's tastes. You need a big fist weapon, and Boneshatter has a special gameplay. The next build is the Spectral Helix Raider. I like the DDI version more because it has more damage, but personally I played the version Thrower Raider in Endless Delve and was as satisfied as possible. The build is quite fast and has enough damage, but it may take some getting used to Helix gameplay. One of my favorite builds for Gauntlet Racing, Exsanguinate Ascendant. Super simple build based on health, waste and huge regen. Great clear thanks to the chain support and solid damage against bosses thanks to the Corrupt Fever. Easy to start and feel the scale all the time. I really recommend this build. An experimental build if you're an assassin fan, Poison Concoction is a very strong skill and work on different ascendancies. Assassin has its own advantages in playing with poison, so this build can also be tried. From a pleasant build is not a glass cannon, because it has many arrows to defense. Also one of my favorite fireball skills, Ignite the version through the Trickster. For bosses a fire trap is used. The build allows you to tank some damage and will definitely not be boring thanks to the excellent fireball clear speed with GMP. Spark Inquisitor is quite an interesting solution. The Inquisitor is great for hardcore and with recent Spark buffs you don't need much gear. Spark allows you to run through the maps very quickly, and Inquisitor big defense gives the prospect of taking level 90 without much strain. Another variation of Poison Concoction through an Occultist. An excellent build that many started during the hardcore Endless Delve, has everything you need to quick pass through the maps and huge damage thanks to the increased charge damage from the Occultist. Since the champion is the perfect ascendancy for hardcore, another variation is through a physical Helix with a two-handed weapon. The most simple build in pumping and gameplay. And unrealistically tanky, able to survive almost all the damage in the game. But you may need a good weapon for red maps. Another Boneshatter build, a Slayer. Another Boneshatter build through a Slayer. Less tanky than the champion version, but has a slightly more damage and clear speed. Also on hardcore the Slayer of the Leech helps a lot. It is quite possible to take level 90 with such a build. I'd recommend it if you like melee. Timeless Classic, a build that has everything you need for an easy race. Corrupt Fever, Kinetic Blast, Gladiator. Explode with Gladiator's ascendancy and Kinetic will make clear maps extremely fast. And the high chance of blocking and armor leaves the build in the nomination for the eternal guest of hardcore racing. A very experimental build that I can only recommend to true hardcore fans, Rage Vortex Berserk with Blade Storm. The build is great at dealing with bosses and has an average clear, but it has a high attack speed due to blitz charges. Not the most tanky version of hardcore builds, but level 90 is possible. The best in my opinion version of Poison Concoction and build that I have repeatedly played on hardcore was Pathfinder Poison Concoction, absolutely undemanding to the gear build and requires only a good flasks roll. Very easy leveling and nice fast paced gameplay. I really recommend to try it, you will not regret. The best version of the Elemental Helix and one of the most tanky to die builds. Fast mapping thanks to Tailwind and good defense with 100% suppression, big HP pool and medium physical reduction. But it may require some knowledge of how to craft some things like a claw. Absolution is quite a popular budget skill for Summoner and Guardians, perfect for hardcore. The minus of the build is its slow damage, but it is enough to take level 90 without much effort. If you are a fan of summon builds and you want to try them on hardcore, then you're welcome, but you may have a little difficult increase the damage, but this is solvable since the build has no gear requirements. And the last build, but not the last in importance, Ignite Fire Trap Elementalist. The build has excellent damage and you can easily kill bosses on T16 in gear from the floor, but you will have to play more carefully and attentively than on other builds. This build does not have the greatest protection, but it's still enough to take level 90. There are all builds that I can recommend for the race. You can try something of your own, but what I showed you is verified by other people and will definitely not disappoint you. Pop for each build in description. Good luck to everyone in the race and see you in the next videos.
And as if I never